the Comeback Game podcast. And today I'm joined by the lovely Neen James, who's an author of Folding Time and Attention Pays. She's been named one of the top 30 leadership speakers by Global Gurus 7 years in a row because of her work with companies like Valcom, Chromecast, and Abbott Pharmaceuticals, amongst many others. Neen has boundless energy, is quick-witted, and always offers powerful strategies for paying attention to what matters so you can get more done and create more significant moments at work and time. Neen, so grateful to have you on the show today.
What a treat to be with you. G'day. It's nice to see you.
Yeah, so we actually connected a few months ago. We had you do some stuff for our members, and I know that they got a hell of a lot out of it. I really enjoyed your presentation as well. You're just full of energy, lovely woman to be around. I'm super excited to have you on the show tonight.
It's fun to serve. Your team were amazing. I mean, that was an incredible event. Everyone was so engaged. They're incredibly focused on changing the world with the particular products and services that they offer. And so what I loved about your community is not just that they were engaged, but they came from a place of service, which definitely is dear to my heart. So you got some real game changers in that group of people.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I just want to take a moment to welcome anyone who's watching this episode, whether it be live at the moment across the various different platforms on social media that we're posting this right now, or whether you're actually watching the replay. Welcome to the show. Two things I'd like you to do. First and foremost, just hit the like button to let us know that you are there. And the second thing, feed as many questions and comments throughout the next half an hour, so myself and Neen can definitely get them answered for you. Rafi from my team staying up late, he's over there in the Philippines, across the different platforms to feed the questions through to us. Good afternoon, good evening, Rafi. Hope you're doing well, mate. So keep the questions coming in so we can engage as much as possible. But Neen, where did this all start for you around the productivity space? I know, the time that we're in right now, even not the time we're in right now, typically speaking, entrepreneurs are always trying to milk every last minute of every last day. But where did this whole concept of folding time and productivity come from for you? Where did it start?
You know, in my corporate life, so I worked in corporate in Australia. I worked in retail banking, telecommunications, and the oil industry in Australia when I lived there. There was not a lot of chicks in oil at the time. And before I set up my own company, I was known in the corporate world to be able to get things done. You know, in every company, there's a girl or a guy who can just get stuff done. That was me. And so when I decided to leave the corporate environment and go out on my own, I was so fortunate to witness in person the legendary Matt Church. And Matt Church, a phenomenal speaker and very well known, one of the top 20 speakers in Australasia. And I remember talking to him about what was my expertise going to be. And he said, look, you're known for productivity and getting things done. I was like, nobody's interested in that. I mean, surely people can just get stuff done. Well, come to find out, that's actually a thing. So I've always been obsessed with this idea about productivity, Barry, because I learned in corporate that the people who could get things done got promoted. What I've realized having my own company is when you are the entrepreneur, the solopreneur, the socialpreneur, the infopreneur who can get things done, when you are a person of your word, when you have integrity and you do what you say you're going to do, then that's one of the ways that you can really help build your brand and get known for something. So I think I've been obsessed with it my whole life. Now, folding time came about because what I realized early in my research is that you can't manage time. That's actually a stupid idea. People talk about time management, which is dumb because you and I get 1,440 minutes in a day. It doesn't matter how long you've been an entrepreneur. It doesn't matter how long you've been in corporate. Time doesn't care. Time's going to happen whether you like it or not. Time's the great equalizer. So what I realized is you can't manage time, but you can manage your attention. And so that's what led me to creating Folding Time, the book, which we have a bonus for all of your viewers that they can go and get a free copy of that today. So because I loved working with Barry and the team, we've made that available. Ralphie, thanks to Ralphie, who's going to make that happen for us too. And so what I realized was that time is a component we need to be very accountable for, Barry. But how we manage our attention and our energy, that's what gives us the results in the world. And so once I started to shift my focus in, how do I help people do that? Make the most of those moments so you can create significant moments. My body of work really changed and keeps evolving, where I get more and more interested in what can we control? We can control our attention. So let's focus on that.
It's a very interesting concept because, the one thing that we all have equal is just that the great equalizer is time. Like we all have access to 24 hours in a day. Like you and I are no different than say Richard Branson or Elon Musk or any of the other great entrepreneurs, yet they're managing to run multiple multi-million and billion-dollar companies, yet many entrepreneurs can't even get their business to their first $1 million. And it's not because they don't have enough time, it's simply what they're investing their time into. So what I'd like to kind of know, and again, like welcome you just joined the show here with Neen James, who's an expert when it comes to attention and how to get shit done. So please keep your questions coming in. But do you want to talk us through some of the concepts around how we can better utilize our attention and focus? Because, like I'm sure you'll agree, this day and age, in the 21st century, like we are just being thrown so much more shit than we ever have been before. And attention is the one thing that many of us don't have. You can't drive down the road without seeing a gazillion billboards and different things trying to sell or market or grab your attention. So can you kind of talk us through some principles or some pillars around how we can start to focus our time on actually getting shit done and focusing the right things to grow our businesses effectively?
From the moment we open our eyes, something wants our attention, right? We set our alarm for 6 a.m. and we're like, today's the day. Today's the day I'm going to start my new 30-day fitness challenge I saw on Instagram, right? So we like open our phones and text messages, better reply to those. And hey, I'll just have a little sneaky peek look at Facebook. And then you're like, gotta get up. And so you like stumble to the bathroom. And people who are texting and toileting, that's not cool, by the way. And then you like go to brush your teeth and you're like, oh man, I'm like out of toothpaste. So you're like, Alexa, to order toothpaste. And then you're like, Instagram, better check Instagram. So you're looking at stories and you're heart. And you're like, what was I here for again? Oh, that's right, the 30-day challenge. I'm going to start today. We start our days in this crazy way that I call the distraction dilemma. Barry, every day we are allowing things to totally interrupt us. So we're interruptions from text messages, instant messages, email, other people, our crazy town that is in our head. And so we have this distraction dilemma. And what I think happens is we have this choice. We have this choice to either feed our distraction or feed our focus. And so what I want to challenge listeners to think about is, how do you feed your focus? Well, some of the ways that you can feed your focus is to really think about the inputs. By turning off notifications and allowing yourself to start your day in a much more positive way. What I loved about serving your conference was we talked about the importance of a morning routine, being able to set your morning up so that you can think about gratitude. What is it you're really grateful for? Moving your body, fueling your body so that you have the right food in your body, being able to do visualization, mantras. And I'm not trying to be woo-woo for people who are watching. I feel like how you set up your day has a massive impact on your attention and focus. Mindfulness is very important to me. So I believe in meditation and I've seen great benefits from that. And so the way that you think about feeding your focus is think about managing your morning routine and the way you set it up. Think about tracking the things you're going to be accountable for. I would invite everybody watching to think about time in 15-minute increments, right? So could you have a strategic appointment with yourself in the morning that's just 15 minutes long, where you identify your top 3 not negotiable activities for today? So before your head hits the pillow tonight, what are 3 things you must get done? Because Barry, you and I, we have crazy town up here. We have our brain constantly telling us, do this, do that, remember this, pick this up, do this. And what happens is every time you invite your brain to think about something new, it's like opening a new tab on your computer. So think about, our poor brain is overwhelmed, our focus, we're constantly distracted. So to feed your focus, think about removing notifications, turning them all off. Think about establishing your day with a morning routine, and think about time in 15-minute increments. So they could really, as an entrepreneur, you can change the world in 15 minutes. You can write a blog, you can make a sales call, you can update your website, you could have a fantastic call with someone in just 15 minutes. So we get to control our focus. We are a choice about that. Does that help?
Some really interesting things you shared there. Absolutely. And I was just reflecting as I was listening to that, probably the worst time in my entrepreneurial journey. Like I remember just distinctively this time. And it was because the way I'd start my day is I'd wake up to my alarm. I would roll over with half an eye open and I would flick my phone off airplane mode and watch the notifications and the emails and the instant messages pouring in. And before my brain had even had a chance to wake up, I'm responding to emails. I'm seeing, you know, all this clutter and shit come into my life and into my head. And it set me up constantly. I didn't know at the time, right? I didn't know back then what I knew now and what we're talking about right now. But I was allowing my day to control me off the get-go. And the biggest change that I made is I turned a feature on my iPhone that stops everything from, you know, 9 p.m. of the night time until 9:30 a.m. in the morning. Like nothing comes through except the apps that I want to listen to, like music for meditation or Spotify or whatever the case may be, to where I'd wake up in the morning, turn my phone off airplane mode, and all I'd get access to is the apps that I would use for my morning ritual, my morning routine. So I started the day controlling or in control of the way that I wanted to show up. And that had a huge impact. Like that half an hour, 2 hours in the morning snowballed into productivity for the rest of the day. Now, I remember speaking to some clients about this, and I would have parents say, well, that's all well and good, Barry, but like we've got kids, you know, we've got responsibilities. And I'd love to know, like I've certainly got some insights around that. But I would love to know what your thoughts are around that, because, you know, there's possibly people watching this right now going, oh, that's all well and good to have a morning ritual, but, you know, I've got a business to run, I've got kids to get ready for school, like I've got so much stuff to do, I can't possibly think about myself in the morning.
Yeah, so the thing that people have to remember, technology is not the enemy of our attention. We are. We get to control our device management. So things like do not disturb is very valuable. But the beautiful thing about do not disturb is you can also say these people are important in my life, so let their messages come in, right? The other thing that I want to challenge people to think about is you can use your cell phone to set limits for apps on your phone. You can restrict how long you're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever your choice. That's the beautiful thing. You can leverage technology to help feed your focus. What I want to recommend to people, though, is that when you are in a place of service in your home, whether it's serving your partner, serving your children, serving aged parents that you're looking after, they are obviously going to deserve your most attention. But what often happens, Barry, is because we allow these inputs, negative news, social media, email, where we are responding to that negativity, our family get the leftovers. They get the leftover attention. That's not what we want. So what I'm suggesting is self-care is not selfish. By being able to get up and take care of yourself. That could be as simple as when you lay in bed, first thing you do when you open your eyes, or half an eye to your point, is you list 10 things you're grateful for. Now, let me tell you, some mornings I'm lazy and I say the same things I said the day before. But even if that's the start of your morning routine, that's a better start than grabbing your cell phone and replying to emails and text messages. Yeah. So what I want to invite people to think about, whether you have little people or furry babies who also want your attention, you want to think about how do you take care of yourself so you can serve others. That's not selfish. So what I want to recommend is that when you think about your morning, you allow the choice around being grateful for the life and the people that you have and the health that you have been blessed with, and then take care of that. Take care of your body, your mind, so you can serve others. Now, I'm not a parent, but I certainly have lots of little people in my life that I love, and I have certainly lots of friends and people that I care about. But to be able to serve them the best, you have to fill up your cup first so that you can give generously to other people. One of the challenges when we're overwhelmed, overstressed, over COVID, is that we are exhausted and yet we still have to give. And so by topping up your energy sources, whatever that looks like to you, whether it's physical activity, working out, whether it's meditating, going for a walk, whether it's surfing in Bali, whether it's walking in your local neighborhood, it's about making sure you come from a place of service. And I believe service means we have to take care of ourselves first.
Yeah. I absolutely love that. I couldn't agree more. Like if you're not first filling up your own cup first, like you're not nourished enough to be able to fill up the cups of others. And, you know, as hard as this is to say, if you've got kids, like just get up earlier, get up before them. And if that means getting up at 4:30 a.m.
15 minutes. I don't care, Barry, just 15 minutes earlier, but something so you feel like you're not running into the day. The challenge, Barry, with the distraction dilemma first thing in the morning is we feel like we start our day behind. The reason I know about all the mindless scrolling that happens, the literally spaced out scrolling that we all do, is I used to do that like you. I would just like wake up and I was allowing all these inputs to set my tone for the day. That's just stupid. That's very irresponsible. And so I'm talking from a place where I understand what people are doing. Do I get it right every day? Absolutely not. However, I think we have to make a choice. Like I said, you can feed your distraction or you can feed your focus. That is absolutely a choice, regardless of how many roles you're juggling in your life.
Yeah. I remember when I first started meditating about 15 years ago. Back then I had a kitchen and bathroom renovation business, and I'd heard of the benefits of meditating. I started to notice that the morning that I'd meditate, I'd be more productive at work because, I guess my mind was quieter. I was more decisive in my actions. I was less distracted by meaningless things that weren't really moving the business forward. And I think that's the thing too, is that often many business owners, myself included in the past, we're not focused on the things that actually move us closer towards our goal. We're focused on putting out fires, or focused on, dealing with the noise rather than going, okay, is this moving me closer or further away from my goals? But besides the point, I remember I went through an experiment for a month where I would go to work not meditating and manage my production or measure my production. And then I'd stay home, meditate. And I found that I could stay home for 3 hours and meditate and have a 3 hour less work day and get twice as much work done than going to work and working a full work day. Twice as much in 3 hours less, because of that state that I went into, because I was going in, I guess, owning my day rather than allowing my day to own me as well. We've got some questions coming in here. Oh, sorry, I just got to say this.
So from a meditation point of view, one thing I want to highlight to people, I used to think meditation was like you sat cross-legged on the floor and you're like, and I'm like, how do people think about nothing? Like my head is like constantly going. And I was like, I can't think about nothing. So if anyone's watching this and you're like, meditation's woo-woo, and you have to sit and be quiet and you have to think about nothing, I want to reassure you that if someone like me can make meditation part of their day, someone like you, now, obviously my energy is very high and my brain is constantly going. But what I love is the mindfulness behind it. So you're more deliberate in your choices. Meditation has not just mindfulness benefits, it also helps calm your nervous system and your body so your brain is clearer. So just start with a minute, just go for a walk, just pause, take some time away from your devices. And I promise when you start to meditate, you will see very significant changes. I'm not asking you to do it for an hour a day. I'm just asking you to start small and just try it. Try it for 5 days. And I promise you by day 6, you'll miss it if you don't do it.
Yeah, and again too, it's easy for us to look at the fact that it's like, oh, but I'm so busy, I'm already, working 16-hour days. But the reality is that swapping out 15 minutes of that for meditation will actually make you a ton more productive and more focused as well.
Yeah, when people say they don't have time, I don't believe them. That's such a lie. Everyone has the same amount of time. When people say, oh, I'm so busy, so what? Everybody's busy. Nobody cares. We try and out-busy each other. Like you say, oh, you think you're busy? I'm so busy. Like, no, we weren't busy like a badge of honor, which is repulsive and revolting. Don't be that person. You aren't more busy than anyone else, and you don't have any less time than anyone else. You're just making different choices to others. So let's just be thoughtful about the 1,440 minutes we have and create moments that matter. But I'm excited to hear you've got some questions coming in.
If you are watching live, welcome to the show. Please keep the questions and comments coming in and we'll get them answered here. Amelia from Perth has a question for Neen. Hopefully she can help a creative person know what she's missing. Should I feel lacking if sometimes I get inspiration from little distractions such as from online or some random books?
The beautiful thing about being a creative, Amelia, is the way that your brain works. Your brain is inspired. You have muses of all kinds of things. Maybe that's art, maybe that's walk, maybe that's nature, or maybe it's a post on social media and it triggers for you this whole body of work. I want to encourage you, Amelia, to start writing things down. The beautiful thing about creatives is you never know where your inspiration is going to come from, and you can't control that muse. Like when that creative spirit comes to you, you have to grab it, as Elizabeth Gilbert says in her TED Talk. So what I want to encourage you to do, Amelia, is carry with you an actual notepad. Here's why. The physical act of writing something down tells your brain that it's safe, because your brain has this thing called RAS, Reticular Activation System. So what that is RAS, for short, RAS, is what your eye is constantly looking for evidence to make you right. And it's going to keep reminding you until you tell your brain, I got it, it's safe. So when you see something that interrupts you, write it down. And I want you to grab it so you can come back to it. And then I'm going to invite you, Amelia, at the end of every day, spend 10 minutes going through your notes and inspiration, because you might be able to take that wonderful trigger, that creative insight, and you might be able to blow it up to be something incredible. So I want to encourage you to start writing down those interruptions. I would also love you to acknowledge the interruption. So if you see something on social media and you're like, that's a good idea, go, yep, that is a good idea. So acknowledge it. Say to your brain, I got it, I'm good. Write it down and continue working on what you are working on. Because the challenge with some of my creatives that I work with is they have this phenomenal, amazing arsenal of ideas, but they don't execute them. And that's a shame for the world. So Amelia, take your beautiful gift of creativity, be thankful that you have it. But I want to get you to systemize your creativity by putting a step into the process where you capture that idea and inspiration, you write it down and revisit it at the end of every day. Just spend 10 minutes. That's all I'm asking you to do, to revisit the beautiful things and use that as inspiration for next time you've created that space to leverage those creative thoughts. I hope that answers your question, Amelia. Let us know if that works.
Love that. Question. Thanks, Amelia. Great question. Question from Pat from Sydney. Would Neen like to expand on the long-term risks, if any, of online learning done wrong? Down the line, I still want my kids to be in control of their focus.
I grew up in learning and development. That was part of my role. So I've designed curriculum, I've built online courses, and I'm the worst online learner. So people need to understand that about me. And I feel like people are in a survival mode right now where we're trying to upskill and educate people in our lives, whether they are little people going to school or adults who are trying to continue their education because they've invested in a degree at university or whatever. And so what I believe is really important is that we need to be able to manage the screen time of the people that are having the inputs. Now, balancing out screen time, you have little people who are used to being engaging in all their senses. They're used to seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, and tasting. And what I want to encourage you to consider as a parent, or if you're looking after aged parents, or if you have people in your life who are spending a lot of time on screen, is can you balance that out with more kinesthetic learning? Kinesthetic learning is basically where they get to implement it, because we all learn very differently, Barry, as you know. Some people are visual learners, so we can see something and process it. Some people are audio learners. They can hear it and remember it. Some people are very kinesthetic. They want to get and do it and open the box and try it out. And that misses, unfortunately, in online learning. But some people are gustatory learners. They learn through taste. And some people are olfactory learners. They learn through smell. You have all these learning styles, but the challenge with online learning is it's only tapping into two of those learning styles, auditory and visual. And so I want to encourage you to think about, how can I get my little one to show me what they've learned? Write things down, feed things back, go practice something. So if you, and I know this is asking an enormous amount of parents who are already overwhelmed right now, but can you invest some time at the end of their learning day to get them to tell you some things they learned, show you some things that they participated in, and then balance that with some activity. One thing that I've realized through all my research is we often learn really well when we're moving our body. And so what you can do is take them for a walk if your season allows for that, and talk about it. Now, the beautiful thing, especially of teenagers, the beautiful thing of a walk and talk is they're not looking directly at you and they're more likely to tell you. Or with some of my teenagers, we would drive. So they would be in the car and I would drive and I would ask a question, not looking at them, and then they would give me their responses. So I think, Pat, the long-term effects, we're not going to know. I'm not a futurist. I wish I had that crystal ball to tell you, but I do want to encourage you, leverage their other senses over a meal, over a walk, over a drive, or get them, the more kinesthetic you can get them, the better it's going to be. The other thing that can be really helpful if you want to appeal to olfactory learners is having smells that make sense to them, smells that are familiar, smells that are pleasant, candles, food, cookies. Cookies is not a good idea for your diet, but something that's going to make them smell good is also going to help their learning environment. And music. So one of the beautiful things about music is if you can get them to associate, because we all know, like I'm a little old lady, right? So I may sound like I'm 5, but if you add a 0, that's my real age. I can still recite song lyrics from things I learned in school, but if I can't remember like my husband's cell phone number half the time. So one of the things I want you to consider is if you want to really reinforce their learning is leverage different modalities. Okay, get them to do it, say it, sing it, like all those different things. And Pat, hopefully that gives you some creative inspiration, but it's a really tough environment for people right now. I 100% hear you. And I think for little people that are very used to devices, it's not the screen time that is the challenge. It's that they're missing those other interpersonal and execution skills that they would normally have on a playground.
Yeah, love that. Love that, Neen. Thanks for the question, Pat. We've got time for one more question here. Neen, what would you say to someone who's currently experiencing a lot of overwhelm and a lot of business right now to start to gain back control of their attention?
Give yourself a break. I mean, please give yourself a break. Right now, you are dealing with a time we've never seen in history. People are more overwhelmed, they're overstressed, they're overtired, right? And so understand that we're waking up tired. We're going to bed more tired. We're tired in our bones. We are more exhausted as a planet than we have ever been before. And in some parts of the world, we're dealing with environmental challenges, political challenges, societal challenges. And so at the time of recording, there is an enormous amount going on. So please give yourself a break. Also understand, you might have had uber productivity before. You might have been the person who could cross things off your list and feel so good at the end of the day and you were like crushing it. And it's not the same as it was before. So I want to invite you to reassess your productivity goals. Also, I want you to think about how can you elevate the self-care in order to reduce the overwhelm. And here's what I mean by that. We've already talked about a morning routine. Start to think about what are 3 things, just 3 things I'm going to get done. And then write them down because then you have the satisfaction of crossing them off. And we need that. Our brain craves that completion, right? But also I want to invite you to get some help. Talk to someone about it. You are not alone. There are people who love you and care for you and want to see you succeed. Get a coach, a mentor, a therapist, a friend, a family member, but say to them, hey, I'm really struggling right now. I have 4 girlfriends in my life. We have a constant text stream. And if one of us text the word hippopotamus, and Lord knows, Barry, I don't know where that came from, but it was like this big thing is happening. If someone texts that word, that's all they have to text. We have short code for overwhelm. So create a short code with some friends in your life where you can go hippopotamus and then everyone stops and whatever that person needs, we make that a priority. But find people in your life who can make your hippopotamus moments a priority. I hope that helps.
Ours is a bat emoji, like to signal Batman.
Yeah, the bat signal, exactly. That's a fantastic one.
We have the bat signal, yeah. Fantastic answers. Thanks so much for that. Hopefully that answers Tim's question as well through here. And Kylie Harvey just sort of added on to what you shared before. Learning through mood is a great way to integrate new ideas.
Yes, and some of my best ideas are like on my Peloton, it's literally a bike that goes nowhere. But because I'm moving my body, right? So find something that's, whether it's a walk, because most of us can walk, but find something. I jump rope, which is stupid, but it actually makes me feel really strong. And then I take a problem on my jump rope. So if I'm going to jump rope for 10 minutes, which is a lot for me, I'll be like, okay, here's the issue. And then while I'm jumping, the rhythm of that consistency, sometimes by the end of the jump rope, I'm like, oh my God, I've got the solution, right? So that's a really cool thing, Kylie, to be able to do something like that.
Love that. Neen, so how can people connect with you if they'd like to find out more? I think Rafi's going to drop the link in there for the resource that we've asked you to give away, but what's the best place they can connect with you at?
The great thing is there's only one Neen James in the world. So if you Google Neen James, you'll find me. On my website, you'll be able to stay in touch with me. And so please sign up for the newsletter. Also go to foldingtimebook.com. We'll give you the free book there. But look, Instagram is where I play the most. Barry and I connect on Instagram quite a bit. So that's always, you'll see me post my adventures there every day. It's definitely where I love to play. But let's get connected. I would love to be able to work out how can I help you not feed your distraction, but feed your focus.
Love that. Last question for me, Neen. So if you were to have a conversation with a 10-year-old version of you, knowing everything you know now, having been through life, what advice would you give her?
Use your voice. I have a voice that sounds like I'm 5. We've established that. And it's always been that way. And I sound like a cartoon character, which I think I would love. I would love my own cartoon character. That would be the most fun job as a voiceover. But as a 10-year-old, I think, and you have this ability to speak up for what's true and what's right without being tarnished in the world. And so if you have 10-year-olds in your life, I want to encourage you to invite them to speak up. In America, there was a vice presidential debate that occurred, and the last question was posed by an 8th grader. It was, I think, one of the most powerful questions of the entire time that people were on television. So I would say to my 10-year-old, then use your voice, ask the questions, speak up, because the world needs to hear from you regardless of your age. But right now in the world, Barry, I think especially right now, the 10-year-olds have great insight and we can learn a lot from them.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Neen, thank you so much for your time today. If you are watching live on the replays, please make sure that you are subscribed and like the Game Changers on both Facebook, Instagram, to stay up to date with the latest, the Freedom Series and the Comeback Game podcast. Tomorrow night, we have Jenna Wickman, who is the founder and creator of the EOS operating system. Very, very smart businessman, so make sure you tune in for that one. Neen, thank you so much for being on the show tonight.
It was a privilege. Thank you so much for making this happen. Enjoy the rest of your time.